What is worth giving your life to? Have you ever asked yourself that question? My dream was to become known as Luke the physician. I wanted to be respected and live a life of ease with my family. Some would say I threw my life away, but I discovered a story so compelling that giving my life to tell it was the only way I finally found my life. Really, I had no choice. God called me to do this. I've spent my life recording the testimonies of those who were forever changed by their encounters with Jesus. The work has already changed me profoundly. The fantastic account of his birth, the amazing miracles, and the teaching so powerful they had to come straight from heaven. And now, it is time to write of Jesus' final trip to Jerusalem. Honestly, I've dreaded this day. The story is so powerful, so significant that I'm afraid I am not up to the task. Yet, I pray that God will use my humble efforts so that people everywhere may hear the ultimate story of love, the story that begins once upon a tree.
Once upon a tree, a good man died, and though he did no crime, he was crucified. If the story ended there, I would have no song to share, but my heart will ever sing the story. Once upon a tree, so the story goes, and all its mysteries surely no one knows. Could the Father's will be done through the suffering of his Son? And there comes the answer, once upon a tree. For God so loved the world, he gave his priceless pearl. What greater love could there be? He died, he rose again, still the story doesn't end, for his Spirit is living in me. What tale of human love could there ever be told? What song could compare with the one I hold? Through everything I am, and through everything I'll be, let me sing my story. Once upon a tree. Once upon a tree.
And when he had spoken, he went before, ascending up to Jerusalem. So many have testified of the joy and anticipation of that day. The disciples have said they felt a sense of destiny. Others were sure they were seeing the Messiah himself riding in that curious procession. The people celebrated, as it seemed obvious that God had finally come to free them from tyranny and to establish a new and godly kingdom. So when Jesus and the disciples entered the city, The crowds flooded the streets as news of his arrival spread.
Look at my sisters. What can you see? I heard the Messiah is coming. Could it be? We have been praying, praying, and waiting so long. Now the crowds gather to see. I see it clear. The waiting is over, and now the Messiah is here. He is here. Arise and shine, your light is coming. Look and see, look and see. The glory of the Lord is rising. Look and see the Lord. Come, pray the way. Blessed is He, blessed is He. Make the highway straight before Him. Blessed is the Lord. Blessed is the Lord. Hosanna, Hosanna, blessed is He who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna, Hosanna, blessed is He who comes in the name of the Lord. Bringing your joyful songs of praises. Come and sing, raise your voice and wave your branches. Come and sing to the Lord. Come and sing to the Lord. Hosanna, Hosanna, blessed is He who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna, Hosanna, blessed is He who comes. Come and praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Hosanna, Hosanna, come and praise the Lord.
Jerusalem, the holy city, so full of history and tradition, full of politics and power, full of hypocrisy and corruption. Jerusalem was a dangerous place for a prophet, and Jesus knew it. But instead of being careful, he preached the truth even more boldly than ever before.
Jerusalem, 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 Jerusalem. Be careful in this city. This is no place to prophesy. The world comes here to worship, and prophets come here to die.
O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to you. How I have longed to gather your children together, and you would not. Behold, your house is left to you desolate, and I tell you, you shall not see me until you shall say, Blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord.
Be careful in this city. Be careful where you tread. The people rise to praise you. The Pharisees want you dead. Jerusalem,
Then he went into the temple and began driving out those who were selling and overthrew the tables of the money changers. And he said to them, "Is it not written, 'My house will be a house of prayer'? But you have made it a den of robbers and thieves."
The streets fill with hosannas, but the Pharisees cast the sound. When God raises up a prophet, they try to take him down.
Beware of the teachers of the law. They like to walk around in flowing robes and love to be greeted in the marketplaces and have the most important seats in the synagogues. They devour widows' houses and for a show make lengthy prayers. Such men will be punished most severely.
This town is full of danger. Speak clear, but count the cost. Better choose your battles wisely, or you could end up on a cross. Jerusalem, 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 Jerusalem. He threatens the temple's power. The time to act has come. They meet this very hour, for something must be done. Something must be done. It must be done.
The Pharisees and high priests didn't have to wait long for their opportunity. Judas, one of the disciples, offered to lead them to Jesus when the crowds weren't around. It was almost too good to be true, and they quickly seized the opportunity. Jerusalem would waste no time in killing this prophet. We all remember times when we've had to say goodbye. As a physician, I have been there many times when a patient knows the end is near. I feel honored to be present as he gathers his loved ones around to say goodbye. Of course, there is always sorrow, but there's also a powerful presence in the room as someone stands on the threshold between life and death. I'm reminded of that very same feeling as I write about that last Passover meal Jesus shared with his disciples. Though his words must have confused them, it's clear now that Jesus was saying goodbye. There must have been a sweetness amidst the sorrow as he shared with them the bread and then the cup, and the words he spoke would live with them forever. The cup and blessed it.
See, the table is set, the food is prepared. We gather to share lead me. Do this and remember me. Come and eat this bread and take the cup. It will fill you up with my memories. Do this and remember me. And when your journey's long and all your strength is gone, when you wonder if my spirit is there, and though the world is cruel and evil forces rule, I will be with you. I will be with you forevermore. Though I go away, remember my friends, I'll see you again when in heaven we'll meet. Do this and remember me. Go and share the bread. There will be enough for all who believe. Do this and remember me. Do this and remember me.
And he came out and went as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples also followed him. To the Mount of Olives, the Garden of Gethsemane. Sometimes when I write, the power and emotion of the story overwhelm me. I am a physician, a man of science, and yet the drama grips me. The scene is so striking. Jesus is praying in the garden, torn between his dread of death and his commitment to God. Even as he prays for deliverance, he knows that one of his own has gone to betray him. The other disciples, still puzzled by Jesus' words of doom, are exhausted and fight to stay awake. And then, just over the next hill, there's a procession of torches and swords as they come to arrest Jesus. Soon they will be set into motion the hellish ordeal of a humiliating trial and a slow, torturous death.
Come, go
to Gethsemane.
We will follow,
I will take you there with me.
we will follow you, Lord. Do not worry. We will follow where you lead. We will never leave your side. We will never leave.
Will you stay awake with me?
We are weary,
Stay alert and pray with me.
we are weary, O
Pray that we will stand alone.
all we need is peace and rest. We will pray as evening comes. God's will be done.
Father, take this cup from me. It is more than I can bear. Must it be my destiny to die in shame and suffering? Still, I am your son. Your will be done. Your will be done. Your will be done. My friends, do you not understand? Lord, the betrayer is at hand.
The betrayer is at
Your will be done.
We will fight for you, Lord.
Your will be
We
done.
will fight for you, Lord. We will fight. We will.
Your will be
Protect
done.
you till
Your will be
we
done.
will fight. We will.
Your will be done.
Protect you till the end.
But no, put your sword down. May the Father's will be done. May the Father's will be done.
Why did Jesus have to suffer so throughout his life? Is it inevitable that one who is courageous enough to stand for what is right, who lives in truth and love, must be persecuted by this cruel and corrupt world? Truth threatens and love challenges, but both are vulnerable.
He was born into a kingdom ruled by cruelty. His birth filled the king with fear and jealousy. They tried to kill the child. Birth was his only crime. He was guilty of innocence.
The child was saved and grew into a a love the world could never understand. Still he showed that compassion was greater than the sword. He was guilty of innocence once more. Guilty of innocence. Guilty of innocence. Guilty of innocence once more.
They brought to him a man who was paralyzed. Jesus saw the pain and suffering in his eyes, and stirring a compassion, he called out to the man,
"Your sins are forgiven, now rise and stand."
and some would whisper evil as he raised him from the floor. He was
Guilty of innocence once more.
guilty of innocence.
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 Once more. And now he's standing trial before a vicious crowd. And what before was whispered, now they shout out loud. They handed down the verdict, decided long before. He was guilty, guilty once more. And when they handed down the final penalty, they began to pardon for humanity. Though born into a world full of cruelty and sin, through Christ we are innocent. Once again, we are now we are innocent. We are now we are innocent. Once again.
Jesus most of the night. They finally took him to trial. I am still shocked by the rage of evil power that exploded on him. Even Pilate, the Judean ruler, was appalled by what they were doing to this innocent man. Pilate was ready to set Jesus free, but the crowd was relentless in its cry for his execution. Over and over, "Crucify, crucify, crucify." As a physician, when I consider the act of crucifixion and what it does to the human body, I am ashamed to be part of the same human race that invented it. The cruelty of the cross is unbelievable. The tearing of the flesh, the exposure, the dehydration, the suffocating pressure on the lungs. How could they inflict this kind of suffering on a man who had shown such extraordinary compassion to this world? I'm still amazed Jesus didn't fight back. He could raise people from the dead. Surely he could strike these people down. But Jesus didn't seek revenge. Instead, he did a miraculous thing that is still hard for me to fathom. He prayed for them. From the very cross on which they nailed, Jesus prayed for his tormentors. Such an act of love is far beyond this world. It is a love that touches the depths of my soul. And the soldiers led him to the palace, and they called together the whole cohort. And they clothed him with purple, and after twisting some thorns into a crown, they put it on him. And they began to salute him. "Hail, King of the Jews!" They struck him on the head with a reed, and spat upon him, and knelt down and bowed before him.
Father, forgive them. They know not what they do.
And after they mocked him, they took off the purple and put his own clothes on him, and led him out to crucify him. And they brought him to the place Golgotha, which means the place of the skull.
Father, forgive them. They know not what they do.
And they crucified him, and divided his garments among them, casting lots to see what each one should take. And those who passed by hurled insults at him, wagging their heads and saying, "Ha! You who would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the cross." And Jesus cried with a loud voice and breathed his last.
Jesus, priceless treasure, love beyond all measure. How could you forgive the pain and cruelty that
Sometimes death can be a blessing. One of the few who stayed until they lowered Jesus down from the cross was his mother, Mary. It had been torture to stay and watch her son suffer so, but now his suffering was over. And though her heart was breaking, she must have felt a sense of relief.
Oh, my precious Jesus, now your suffering's over. Poor and tortured body, now it's time to rest. Why were they so angry? Love was turned to hating. How could they kill you? Steal your life away.
Soon it will be Sabbath. Cruel work is over. Take his broken body, lay it down to rest. You wouldn't need an army, still you fought the battle. With love your only armor, truth your only sword. Death now he is laughing, thinks he's won a prize. The story is not over, God will overcome. Your days on earth has ended, your words will live eternal. Your spirit lives among us, you will never leave.
Lord, your breath is still now. Peace is on your face. Poor and tortured body, now it's time to rest. Now it's time to rest. It's time to rest.
And the women saw the tomb and how the body was laid in it. And they went home and prepared spices and perfumes, but they rested on the Sabbath. Lord God, your will is a mystery, that you would become a man and subject yourself to the cruelties of this world to demonstrate your love for us. Have mercy on me, for I am not worthy to even set my pen to the telling of this story. Still, through your death you give us life. Through your grace you make us whole. And by your strength I will never turn from telling the story of your deep and holy love. With every breath I take, through every day I live, let me be a witness of this story of your heavenly love.
For God so loved the world, he gave his priceless pearl. What greater love could there be? He is living in me. What tale of human love could there ever be told? What song could compare with the one I hold? Through everything I am, and through everything I'll be, let me sing my story. Once upon a tree. Once upon a tree.
I am exhausted from this writing, as though I had actually lived through this story. I'll continue tomorrow. It is time to rest. I could not sleep in peace if the story ended at the tomb. I would not give my life to its telling. But tonight I rest in the assurance that tomorrow belongs to the Lord. I rejoice in the glorious things I have yet to tell. The miracle of an empty tomb, the wonder of Jesus' resurrection and his appearance to people on earth. Then there are the glorious eyewitness accounts of Christ ascending into heaven right before their eyes. Now I travel with the Apostle Paul and see mighty wonders with my own eyes. There is so much more to be written as I continue to record the acts of the apostles. Each day is an adventure as we take the story of Christ to the ends of the earth. I have been faithful in recording all of these things, and now I place them in your hands. What will you do with this story? I pray that you'll embrace this story and allow Christ to live in you and through you. Live your life with a great hallelujah for all that Christ has done.
The song lives on within my heart, as earth and heaven sing their part. Hallelujah, hallelujah. The song lives on. Christ would die in shame. All heaven sings his name. For God transformed his shame to glory. Though on the cross he died, Christ conquered death to rise, and lives in our hearts as we sing the story.